Well, welcome back. Welcome anew. I'm Joseph McClendon III, and welcome to the Further Faster podcast, where our outcome is always to help you do exactly what the name implies, and that is to help you go further, faster in your life, or as we say, to help you become more wealthy, healthy, happy, and financially abundant. And usually, I will either do this podcast just myself or I'll have a guest. Well, today I have two guests. And the reason I have two guests today is because people ask me all the time, Joseph, how do you do what you do? And I always tell them, well, I don't do it alone. I've got help and plenty of it. And my help are my business partners, Salerno and Shila Morris. And they are, I'm going to say, the brains behind the operation. So grab a pad and paper, and we'll be right back. And I want you to meet my business partners. Well, if you're not looking at me and you're just listening to me, you see I get a big smile on my face, bigger than normal, because I have two of my best friends with me here. And these ladies are responsible for helping me get my message and what I do out there in the world, something called neuroencoding. And that is the culmination of everything that I know. I've distilled it down into a few things, that processes and things that I use to get the results as an ultimate performance specialist. Now, I know what I do well, which is to run my pie hole and to create content. And what I don't do well is marketing and really getting it out there to people. So when it came time to do so, these two amazing ladies came into my life, and they have an unbelievable background of their own, and not only helped me, but actually are, I'm going to say, the foundation of what makes this able to be workable for everybody out there. And these are my guests, Kay and Shy. Welcome to the team. Welcome to the podcast, ladies.
Thank you, Joseph. We're so glad. We're actually in studio with Joseph right. Today. We're right next door. So we're so glad to be here with you, Joseph, today. It's truly an honor.
Yeah. And normally, as we do podcasts, it's usually remote, but they're right here in the studio.
Here, we'll come.
So, see, so you can see them right there. Right there. And these amazing ladies, listen, first off, let's start off. Share with us a little bit about yourselves and kind of, as I met you, how we met and what you do.
Well, we would love to. And we're so delighted to be here with you today. Thanks for having us as guests on the Further Faster podcast. We're fans. And now we get to be guests on the show as well. Now, you might see that we look very similar. That's not by coincidence. We are real life sisters, though we're 7 years apart.
We're also entrepreneurs. We're moms. We are wives. We are community members. We are university teachers. But we are perhaps most proud to be the co-founders alongside Joseph McClendon III of the Neuroencoding Institute. Now, we got a pretty incredible opportunity in 2020 to have a conversation with Joseph, and he got to hear a little bit about our qualifications, which include helping to build out the John Maxwell certification organization, which also include building an 8-figure brick and mortar business and entrepreneurial venture of our own. We have had so much incredible experience. When we finally got together with Joseph in 2020, we got to have a conversation. He heard our credentials, and we had been hearing his messages for 4 years. And he said, I'm looking for somebody to help me build my legacy. And we thought maybe we could help.
And now here we are. We're actually in studio with Joseph because 3 years ago right now, we were here in town with him building what would become the Neuroencoding Institute. It launched in April of 2021. And here it is now with nearly 1,000 neuroencoding specialists around the world. It's so gratifying and satisfying to see. But to think back, Joseph, to 3 years ago and meeting and having those first meetings and talking about what is this dream? What is the legacy? What is it that you want to build? Because we really talked with you and you said, I'm not just looking to market another program. And we said, we're not really looking to market another person, but we're all looking to have amplified impact. And that's what we've been able to do with this certification program. So just curious for you, Joseph, like what has it meant for you to see it go from concept to reality and so much more in the last 3 years?
Well, there's a saying or a phrase that I've been using lately, and that is that we are at this stage, and that is proof of concept. 3 years ago, we sat down. It was the beginning of COVID, and we were sitting down when I first met these amazing ladies, and we talked about, what I wanted to do. And some of you know that I committed many years ago to helping as many people as I possibly can because somebody helped me. And so I have had the privilege learning from some incredible mentors and teachers throughout my time, and still my mentors now. And I learned from a lot of people, and they've taught me things, and I've been able to go out there and get results with other people. But I wanted to be able to, as they were saying, spread it out and get it to other people. So what it means to me now is that it has become that proof of concept, meaning we conceptualized it back there in that we would have an army of people that have the skills to go out there and change people's lives. And that's what we have right now. We have well over 1,000 members and neuroencoders, if you will, that are getting out there, not only getting results for themselves, but changing other people's lives as well. And, I always say, I tell them all the time, they do a better job of explaining what neuroencoding is than I do. So ladies, tell us what is exactly neuroencoding.
Well, before we get into that, Joseph, for maybe those on the podcast who haven't heard your story, can you just share what was that moment that somebody came along and gave you this creed to help as many people as you can?
Hey, I'm the interviewer here.
Well, it sets us up. It sets us up.
Okay. Well, the truth be told is when I was 17 and a half years old, 3 grown men tried to take my life because of the color of my skin. And it wasn't just what they did to me physically. It's the things that they said to me. And the things that they said became an ongoing tape inside my head. And it really destroyed my self-esteem, destroyed my drive, everything about me. And it destroyed my already bad opinion of myself. And so much so that I wound up becoming homeless. I lived in a cardboard box behind an old drive-in theater in Lancaster, California. And what changed my life was at the bottom, somebody came into my life. It was a caring individual, somebody I didn't know, and they didn't have to do this. They gave me a book, and the book was called Think and Grow Rich. And I read the book, and I always tell people, because a lot of people have read the book, but they didn't do the exercises. And in the book, there's some great exercises. I did the exercises, and I got some results for myself, and my life started to change. And fast forward, I went back to the gentleman that gave me the book, and I said, how do I serve you? How do I repay you for what you've done for me? Because you've changed my life. That's when he told me, he said, Joseph, what you do to repay me is you do the same thing that I've done for you for as many people as you possibly can for the rest of your life. Now, I was 19 at this time, by that time when that happened, and I didn't really take it serious back then. But as time progressed and I started to recognize the way that I was raised, and I started to recognize the feeling that I got and what made me become a better person was helping other people. And so that's where it started. And that's what made me start doing what I do and bring it to this point right now.
Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate you letting us take the interview.
That's fine.
So Joseph goes on this quest, and for 35 years, Joseph is changing lives one by one by one. He gets a room of 10,000 people, a stadium full, and he changes those lives that are in that room. Joseph brings people into a program, and he's changing the lives of the people in that program. And this is an incredible way of changing, at this point, over 5 million people's worlds. What an incredible gift to humanity. But there was something further that we could do, right? Mm-hmm. The credo was to change as many people's lives as possible. And if you remember anything about basic arithmetic, you know that the numbers add up a lot faster when we stop using addition and we start using multiplication. And the way that we do that in regards to changing people's lives is we don't let Joseph change lives one by one by one. We create an army of mini Josephs who can go out and they
try not to visualize that.
They change lives one by one by one. But when you have 1,000 people, if each one of those 1,000 people were to touch just 1,000 people's lives, you have 1 million lives that have been transformed by this power. So we see that the power of the multiplication can help us to achieve Joseph's legacy project a lot faster than the addition method.
Well, and I just have to jump in here too, because raise your hand if you're one of those 5 million people, right? We were one of those people who sat in an audience and listened to Joseph, and we got transformed, and we could feel that. But if you're like us, you also go home like a person on fire, and you're like to everyone, guess what I learned? And there's all this stuff, and it's inside of you, and you can do things and stop technique. And they're like, you're a crazy person, right? And they're not necessarily resonating with that. And for so long, I think there's been so many of us who go to a seminar, who read a book, who go to a conference, who get fired up and excited, but aren't equipped with support and tools that allow us to then take what we've learned and teach it to others effectively. And that's what the Neuroencoding Institute does, making those mini Josephs, so to speak, right? Insofar as that we're taking all of those credentials, all of those best techniques, all of those transformations, and putting them into usable tools and knowledge and systems for others to apply. Now we're getting the power of that multiplication, not just addition. That's what's most exciting to us, Joseph.
Absolutely. And I was one of those people. I saw Les Brown was the person, when I saw him speaking, I remember going, wow, I want to do that. I can do that. And it inspired me to go on and to learn to do things. And as Kay and Shai were saying, for the most part, if you're sitting in an audience and you get your life changed, that's it. Your life is changed because somebody else did it. And most of us walk away wanting to be able to do that for other people. And so I know, as a result of my education and the certifications that I have, that comes down to process. That comes down to having a way to do that. It's not inspiration. It's not just empowerment. It is a process to get from point A to point B. Point A being where you are and how you're thinking and your psychology where you are and your behaviors that you have, to point B, how you want to think so that you do the best behaviors to get the results that you want. And so, in short, that's what we did, was took all of what I've been able to do, because I've had the privilege of coaching and mentoring some pretty amazing people through time, and took all that stuff and distilled it down into some very simple things that we can teach other people and do, like you said, to multiply. And again, it's going to take me all night to get rid of the images of a bunch of little Josephs, but more specifically to help people become more of what they are so that they can change people's lives as well.
Oh, let us tell you all too that this, I almost said a bad word, stuff works. This stuff really, really works. It really does. And we've seen the power of this in our own lives. You know, Shila said that we saw that result after seeing Joseph live. It was 2016 for us. And we got to see Joseph at an Unleash the Power Within event. And we were just instantly in love, obviously. But we had received such like this change that we almost couldn't understand. And I remember leaving that conference and saying, wow, like the speakers were really good, but this one guy, like I can't stop thinking about the things that he taught us because they actually worked. Like all of a sudden there were these tools that I had to utilize time and time again. And when we came forward and got to know Joseph and his processes, he says, like, look, you know, everyone thinks that this is effective because I'm so great. But the reality is that I am pretty dang great. But I also follow a system. I have a certain set of skills that I like to put forth and use, and they work for people. And I get a result for people, and they get a result, most importantly, for themselves time and time again. And I can teach other people how to do this. And so it's been an honor to help bring this to life.
It has, like formally trained in neuropsychology, then pursuing certifications like hypnosis, NLP, all kinds of different things to bring together. And then this practical application over the years of what actually works, because like you can get inspired and you can get motivated, and those feelings and energetic signatures are so important to us. But then being able to take that energy and turn it into transformation in their lives is a skill that most people haven't been able to master, but Joseph has. And so then for him to get to partner with us, or for us to get to partner with him, like I still pinch myself sometimes and say, build the structure around that so that others can do it. Like that's, talk about fulfilling, talk about mission, talk about like ability to actually impact and change lives, not just for others, but for them to change others. That's what so fires us up so much and really makes that dream of help as many people as you possibly can even more achievable, Joseph.
And that is really where the magic is that we're able to give these tools, teach these tools, support the people as they learn these tools and beyond, to do it for other people as well. I don't know what the number is. You ladies probably know more than I do what the number is, but several of the neuroencoders that are in our family here are professional physicians, psychiatrists and psychologists that already have practices, and coaches and people. And so what they say is they take this stuff and it just enhances what they do. And kind of to dovetail on one of the things that they said is that when you watch, at the risk of sounding arrogant, what I do, and you get affected by that, you might think it's because it's in the moment and you got inspired. And you might also think, again, at the risk of sounding arrogant, that guy's amazing. Well, I'm not that amazing. I have a system. I have a process. And there's a saying, Joe Frazier says this, and I just love this saying. And then he says, between the promise and the payoff, there's process, meaning that whatever you want or whatever you desire, you have to do something in between there. There's got to be a process in order for you to get what you want. And the process in this case is what to say to yourselves and to other people if you're teaching it, how to move your body, what to do, and what to look for. All of those distinctions that have taken me 3.5 decades to learn and to perfect. I realized, especially with these amazing ladies, that it is teachable, and they broke it down into some very bite-sized chunks that anybody can learn. And I'm going to say we have lots of testimonials, obviously, of people that have gotten results. And one just came in yesterday. I have our neuroencoders. We have sessions with them, live sessions. And one of the sessions is one that I do with the entire group. And yesterday, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. We had the group that was on there, and I always do Q&A at the end. And this one woman comes on, and her name is Shay. And Shay was one of the very first live coaching sessions that I did for the Institute to see. As a matter of fact, it's one of the training videos where you watch me do a training session. First off, you learn the skills, the processes, and then you watch me do it with somebody live. Now, I never met this woman before, and it was all straight up. And all I did exactly what I showed these people to do. Now, this woman suffered from something called TBI, traumatic brain injury. And she was really quite a kind of a mess. She couldn't focus. She couldn't talk. She was a bit manic. She was between tears and laughter. It was all over the place. And by the way, I want to say we're not teaching therapy by any stretch of the imagination. This is coaching. And to make a long story short, because of the things I was able to coach her in doing and the things I was to say to her as a result of the observation that we teach people to notice in other people, fast forward, yesterday, she left a testimonial and she said, listen, I'm just here to, and she was, it was amazing. When you watch her, you see her, she speaks perfectly. She's straight on. She's just an amazing woman. And she says, we had this session, actually we had 2 sessions. We had this session and you said a couple things to me and those things rang true. And I don't know why, but I couldn't stop thinking about them and I did it. And now, and by the way, one of the things that she says is that people that have her kind of injury have a 5-year lifespan from there. And at the end of 5 years, most of them will pass away. And she goes, Joseph, I passed my anniversary. I'm still alive. And you see this person. And I say all of that because it's not because, and I say to people, entertain the thought that you and I did that together. All I did was knew what to say, when to say it, and got you to do it. And so having that skill to be able to do that changes not only your life, but changes other people's lives as well.
We're giving people techniques, practical things that they can use in their everyday life. So I just want to share a quick story that I think helps to highlight exactly what neuroencoding does and how simple it can be. Now, my daughter is 4 years old, and recently we were traveling on airplanes, which is so fun for little kids, such a good experience. And we were getting onto the airplane and we're walking and everything's fine. And I have a baby in one arm and I've got bags on the other arm and everything's full. And she's walking in front of us and she gets to the part at the end of the bridge where the gap and the airplane are. And she looks down in between the gap and she sees the fall and she freezes instantly. And she says, Mommy, I can't do it. She's having trouble stepping from the bridge onto the airplane because she can see how far the fall is. Now, of course, that the slit is not big enough even for her tiny body to fall through. So she is in no mortal danger, but her brain says she is in mortal danger. And what we know is that response, fight, flight, or freeze, can often be what Joseph likes to call the thieves of our dreams when we allow them to take our emotional experience. And so there she is. She's completely frozen. She's backing up a line. She can't make the decision. And then I watch her implement a neuroencoding technique on herself. It's so simple that a 4-year-old can do it.
Yes.
She implements a neuroencoding technique on herself. She gets herself across onto the other side of the gap. She gives herself a celebration. She says, I am capable. And she keeps walking. And it was so incredible to watch her do this in the moment. These are practical tools and techniques to help people when they hit that point in their life where they're looking down and they're seeing how scary that fall can be, to help them push through and go further faster.
Absolutely. Thank you. I didn't know that. That was spectacular.
Just happened.
And again, I love that you said even a 4-year-old can learn it. That hesitation. Matter of fact, we always say procrastination, hesitation, fear of failure, fear of success, self-doubt, self-loathing, imposter syndrome, and fear of rejection are the thieves of our dreams. And whether it be that little gap between getting on the airplane or, walking up and saying hello to somebody, or asking your boss for a raise, or starting your own business, or whatever it is in your life, those are those gaps in our lives. And we have the tools, not only the tools to do something about it, but we can condition ourselves so that it happens automatically, which is what happened to her. She froze. And all of a sudden, she had another option. And the option was to do something in the moment to change herself. We're going to take a short break for a moment. We'll be right back with these amazing ladies, Kay and Shai.
You're enjoying this episode on Angel Phoenix Productions Podcast Network. To explore a complete lineup of quality programs and media production services, head on over to angelphoenix.com or like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Angel Phoenix Productions.
Welcome back. I am in the studio with my amazing business partners and friends, Kay and Shai. And we've been talking a bit about neuroencoding. And I thought maybe it might be a good idea if we started to talk about exactly what it is, or what you can do if you might want to make a difference in your life and other people's lives as well.
Well, like neuroencoding is really what encapsulates, Joseph, your body of work. And that's that cherry-picked best tools and strategies for making behavior change in people's lives that last. So what we know about neuroencoding for sure is that at its very basis, at its essence, it's all about being able to default to your desired behavior or emotional state, being able to automatically default. Doesn't that sound like what you want? Because it's easy to default to happy when things are going good. But how about when they're not going good, or when they're stressful, or when the onslaught of never-ending responsibilities is crashing upon your shores and you're starting to feel worn down? Don't you want to default to an automatically desired state or behavior? Of course you do. That's what we all want. But getting ourselves to do that, programming the supercomputer that is the biological brain and body that you have, can feel really complicated. But Kay, your story about your daughter Violet being 4 years old and being able to implement these things, I think helps really demonstrate and reflect back the 5 values of the Neuroencoding Institute. Because what we try to do at our basis of the Institute is not only bring forward that neuroencoding essence, right, the ability to default to our desired states of emotional behavior and change and responses, but to also be able to build a community and a support system around that allows people to be successful with that. Because being able to automatically default in desired triggered states, like that sounds like a lot of jargon, right? And it is neuroscience based. So what we did was, what are the 5 values that really encapsulate who Joseph is and how we can make neuroencoding accessible to anyone who is a formally trained therapist and psychiatrist bringing this into their practice, to someone who doesn't have a college degree but has a desire to use their story to help and serve others. Everything in between, how do we create that community? So the 5 values, and you'll love these because they reflect Joseph, and they reflect exactly what most of us need in our lives in order to be successful. And the first one is assassinate complexity, right? Like, keep things so simple that a 4-year-old could do it, right?
The tagline. it do?
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
Yes,
number
I'm gonna wear that one out.
Yeah. Number 2 is embrace a proven process, AKA it has to be science, right? Like it has to be based on neuroscience because it has to work. And that's exactly what it is. Number 3 is to champion celebration. We heard Violet get across that threshold, say yes, encode herself with that celebration, which reinforces the desired triggered state, right? That you want to default to. She activated, which is value number 4, to activate, right? To put it into motion and to make it reality. And then the number 5 value is to grow, to get to beyond where you are into that uncomfortable zone so that we can go beyond and make progress and be happier, healthier, wiser, wealthier, and all of those desired states in between. So seeing the values demonstrated in that story of what neuroencoding is and how it operates, I think is a beautiful reflection.
And it is. And it is an exponentially growing skill set as well. I mean, the more you do it, the better you get at it. I call it human physics. The more we do anything, the better we get at it. And one of the greatest things that our joy is, if you will, is watching that multiplication, watching people get out there and not only use it for themselves, but they're changing other people's lives, building businesses of their own to make it happen, and getting out there and learning how to speak in front of people, which is another thing that I get asked all the time. And again, it would be easy to, matter of fact, I remember thinking this as well when I saw Les or I saw Tony Robbins or any of the other speakers before. I go, wow, they're talented, they're skilled. But then when I learned what they do, and I also incorporated things of my own in there, and I started to realize it's just a process. It's just step. It's a step to know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, where to stand, how to use your body. And the first thing that Shai said, one of our core values, the number 1 value, is to assassinate complexity. You know, that old saying that complexity is the enemy of execution. When things get too complicated, people won't do anything. So we make it so unbelievably simple that honest people most of the time will look at it and go, I know what you're doing. Because now they'll watch me on the stage and they'll go, I know what you're doing. I know. And what they now know is that before they step on stage, they know exactly what they're going to say, when to say it, how to say it to get a result. So that you're not just empowering people, you're not just inspiring people, you're actually encoding them. And that is why people feel like that they want to keep on going and they will make something happen.
Okay, so for the first time ever, we have like a motivational illusionist bringing back pulling back the curtain and showing all of the tricks, right? This is the tricks of the trade in regards to how to get a result from an audience. And this is a result not just from the audience in regards to sales, but also a result for the audience. So they don't just leave feeling empowered and excited, but they leave with tools. Now, Shila and I got to actually have one of these audiences. So part of the Neuroencoding Institute is not just the skills, but we also give licensable products as a part of this that people can take out there. Now they're licensed. You don't pay us a fee for any time that you deliver these products out there, but they're so good that even Shila and I deliver these products. So recently we took these to our retreat of managers, and we own a restaurant company that does 8 figures in annual revenue. We are so proud of our nearly 200 employees in our brick and mortar breakfast and lunch restaurant. It is a wonderful opportunity to see people grow. And we get to come together with them once a year for an annual retreat. And recently, Joseph, we did that. And we actually took the identity content to them right out of the Neuroencoding Institute and out of the programs. And we took this content to them and the results were incredible.
Right. We had our hard, Mexican machismo guys from the back of the house in tears, standing on their chairs, ripping open their energy with their I am statements and saying that they felt so empowered, more empowered, realizing that they mattered, that they had control for the first time sometimes in their lives. So seeing that kind of instant change in a group with the content that we can apply from you taking 35 years to distill it down to something that can be that easily applicable, that people from all ranges can use it and then help others with it is truly beautiful.
For that case as well, with the gentleman who was standing on the chair, we had an interpreter, so he wasn't even a native English speaker. He was listening to everything through interpretation and still had that level of result.
Yeah, because if you have a heartbeat, this is going to work for you. And just to give you an idea of what they're talking about in terms of the products, if you will, or in terms of what they taught, we supply you with that. Because one of I see one of the hardest things for a lot of people who want to go along this path as being a coach or a speaker or something like that is they don't have content. They don't know what to say. They don't have a speech put together. We supply that with you with all of the PowerPoints and the keynotes and all of the scripts and everything. So that and a course that you can teach, which, by the way, was one of the drawbacks when I got started. I didn't know what to do. I had to put that stuff together. I couldn't teach what I learned from somebody. I couldn't teach somebody else's material. So how would I make something up? So as Kay said, that it's not something that you have to pay us a royalty. This is something that we want you to have so that you can go out there and teach it. And then you get to customize it on your own and make it your own, add your stories, add different things to it. And that's when it is really valuable to people, because then you get to become your own person.
Well, I feel like we've been running an infomercial here. We're just really passionate about it.
Still here.
We just can't.
Well, we're so excited about it, and as we're wrapping up here, the reason we're excited about it is because, as the lady said, we're building a community, and life is much simpler than we've been led to believe. In other words, when we look at whether it is somebody that is a coach, and I'm going to say this as well. If you want to go further, faster in your life, whatever it is that you want to do, get a coach. That's it. That's the bottom line. It's evident in sports all over the world. It's evident in businesses everywhere. It's also evident in life. Get a coach, somebody that's been there, done that, and somebody that can affect change in you. And so that's what we've created. And it's something that not only we're proud of, but we're proud of the results that our coaches are getting. And if you want more information, I think they're going to flash it across the screen there. If you're listening to us, you just go to neuroencoding.com. It'll also be in the description here as well. And we would love you to, first off, get your questions answered. And we'd love to have you part of our family as well, because I know deep inside every single one of us, we have a need, not just a desire, a need to help people. Help change other people's lives. And when we do that, we make a difference in our lives as well. So ladies, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, and you got to come back and do it again and interview me.
Yes, our pleasure, Joseph. And there's so many ways that we can serve you in the Neuroencoding Institute. Go to neuroencoding.com. Look, if you want to become a coach, come on down. We want to have you in the Institute. If you want to further your coaching practice or your therapy practice, come on down to the Institute. We want you in the family. If you are at the point where you're looking for a coach, go to neuroencoding.com. Check out the directory of the hundreds of neuroencoding coaches that are already certified to help folks just like you.
All over the world, too.
All over the world. So you can find somebody local to you. Go to neuroencoding.com. Come join our family. We're so passionate about what we do here. And we do need to have a part 2, Joseph, with some more fun and more storytelling.
Well, we got to get up out of here.
Well, we do. And if you're like us and you sat in an audience and you fell in love with Joseph and you say, how do I be as close to that fire as possible? The Neuroencoding Institute is the place to do it. So we hope you'll join us there. And Joseph, thanks for having us on today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And remember, everybody, life is always exactly what you dare to make it. And fortune favors the bold. So the trick is to boldly step up and dare to make your life magnificent. I look forward to serving you, and I'll see you at the top.
This podcast was a production of Angel Phoenix Productions. Explore more episodes of this show or other great shows on the Angel Phoenix Podcast Network by visiting angelphoenix.com. The views expressed in this show do not necessarily represent those of Angel Phoenix Productions or its advertisers, and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners.